Hello and welcome to the final in our series of videos. This one is all about helping you to shortlist the right candidates for your role. In this process and in this video, I'm going to talk to you about some top tips that will help you to do that really well, to make some objective decisions and give yourself the best chance of finding a great hire for your role. There isn't a simple process, solution or methodology which is guaranteed to give you the right decision every time. There's no right answer here, but there are ways to get it wrong and there are ways that you can do it better so you can improve, and that's what these top tips are all about. So what are those top tips? Number one, very simply, is to start with the essentials. Go back to your job description and look for the absolutely essential skills, knowledge and experience that candidates must have in order to be able to do this job really well for you. That should enable you to cross-reference against your candidates, and anybody who doesn't have those absolutely essential criteria can be placed to one side and simply regretted from the process with feedback to let them know why they haven't met the minimum criteria for the role. If you find that your pile has significantly diminished straight away, this is often a good chance to ask yourself whether or not those essential criteria really are essential. Did you need to perhaps think about some of them being desirable rather than essential? After you've gone through your essentials, you've now got a pool of people that you need to sort your way through. And that's where you go to tip number 2, stage 2 of this process, which is all about looking at the desirable criteria. I'd suggest the best thing to do is to set out those desirable criteria and use some form of scoring or weighting against each of those criteria. It's a really objective, clear and simple way for you to be able to top those scores up and identify who your highest scorers are. At that point, I'd like you to think about step 3 here, which is all about checking your biases. Now, when I talk about biases, most people think I mean things like gender, race, or disability. Actually, most of the research tells us our biases are much more powerfully about things like likeness effects. That if you are like me, if we have similar academic backgrounds, similar work experience, we went to a similar type of school, we had similar types of grades, or come from a similar type of social background, I'm much more likely to be positively biased towards you. So check your highest scorers. Do they have lots of likeness effects to you? And if they do, then move on to the next stage, because this is a good next step, and that is to get others involved. Once you've identified those desirable criteria, get other people to look at the CVs and mark them using the scoring and weighting just as you did. It's a wonderful way to moderate any of those personal biases, particularly if they come from different backgrounds to you. Tip number 5 is then to ask for more information if you need it, particularly if you're facing a difficult decision. I think most of us can get sucked into the idea that recruitment is a process. Think instead about, if you need something else, asking for the question, asking for the information. That's absolutely fine to do. It can really help you, particularly with a difficult decision, to just get that little bit more information. Then, of course, once you've got all of that criteria and you've got your shortlist, you can actually have a wild card. So, of course you need your objective criteria, but if there's a particular justifiable or objective reason that you really want to see somebody at that final interview, let's say, for example, they did a dissertation project which is on exactly something directly relevant to the role or to your work, or they've got some brilliant work experience with one of the leading people in your sector that you know could potentially add real value to this role. Those are the kinds of perfectly justifiable objective criteria where you can say, I know they're not potentially in the highest score impact, but they were there or thereabouts, and I really want to see them for these reasons. At that point, check your biases though. Just make sure there's no other reason why you may be wanting to score that person a little bit higher or to meet them. Tip number 7 is, if you still find yourself in a very difficult position and shortlisting for that final interview, you can add in a screening step. Think about doing something like a work-based test, research or a report, something which will really give you an indication into their abilities and capability to be able to do that job well. it can really help you to shortlist who on paper look like strong candidates to who, having seen their performance on a work-related test, would be a really strong candidate for that final interview stage. So hopefully you then find yourself in the position of drawing up your shortlist. My recommendation is that you have about 5 candidates for each role that you're seeking to choose. If you followed this process, that should give you a really good choice and a wide field of capable candidates to choose from the role. And of course, that final interview is all then about matching your ambitions that you have for the organisation and the role and the skills you require with their motivations and career ambitions and the skills that they can bring to it. I hope you find yourself with a strong shortlist of candidates and that you find the next strong, capable hire for your organisation. I wish you the very best of luck with your recruitment. Thank you and good luck.